Welcome to the Trend Flow, bringing you the latest news from around the world. In a stunning geopolitical shift that few could have predicted even a year ago, China has formally accepted a comprehensive proposal from Taiwan, marking a historic pivot from decades of hostility, suspicion, and near-constant tension that have defined cross-strait relations since the mid-20th century. Today, July 30th, 2025, a tangible framework for peaceful coexistence, initiated by Taipei and accepted by Beijing, is on the table for the first time in over 75 years. This agreement, years in the making, represents a breakthrough that many thought impossible. Global markets surged on the news, with investors reacting to the promise of stability in one of the world's most economically vital regions. The ripple effects were immediate, as confidence soared across Asian and international exchanges. Meanwhile, world leaders scrambled to respond, convening emergency meetings and issuing statements as they assessed the far-reaching consequences of this unexpected development. The implications are profound, touching every aspect of international relations, global trade, and regional security. From shipping lanes to defense alliances, the entire Indo-Pacific order is now in flux. Xinhua News Agency confirmed the Central Committee's acceptance of the so-called Taipei Initiative, sending shockwaves through diplomatic circles and media outlets worldwide. This was quickly followed by addresses from both President Xi Jinping and President Lai Ching-te, each emphasizing the importance of dialogue, mutual respect, and a shared vision for peace. Analysts are dissecting every word, every gesture, but the message is clear. What was once the most volatile flashpoint in the Indo-Pacific has now entered uncharted diplomatic territory, with the world watching every move. For years, military drills, aggressive posturing, and bellicose rhetoric seemed to make confrontation inevitable, casting a long shadow over the region and raising fears of open conflict. Now, a sudden shift to cooperation has upended expectations and opened a new chapter, offering a rare glimpse of hope for lasting peace and stability. The Taiwan Strait, a critical artery for global shipping and the world's semiconductor supply, is at the center of this transformation. The stakes could not be higher for the global economy. The world watches, hopeful yet wary, as the two sides navigate this fragile opening. The coming days will test the resolve of leaders and the resilience of peace as history unfolds before our eyes. To truly grasp the magnitude of this moment, we must look back and understand the long and complicated history that has shaped the relationship between China and Taiwan. The story of cross-strait relations is not just a tale of two governments, but a saga of identity, power, and the shifting tides of global politics. We must revisit the deep and often turbulent history of cross-strait relations, a history marked by both confrontation and fleeting moments of dialogue. The division began in 1949, when the defeated nationalists, led by Chiang Kai-shek, retreated to Taiwan after losing the Civil War to the Communists. Both sides claimed to be the sole legitimate government of all China, setting the stage for decades of rivalry and mutual suspicion. The Cold War era only deepened this split. The United States threw its support behind Taipei, while the People's Republic of China remained diplomatically isolated from much of the world until the 1970s. The Taiwan Strait became a flashpoint, with military standoffs and propaganda battles shaping the region. Nixon's historic 1972 visit to China and the U.S. decision to recognize the PRC in 1979 were turning points in global diplomacy. Yet the passage of the Taiwan Relations Act ensured that American support for Taiwan's defense would continue, even as official ties shifted to Beijing. This delicate balance, often called strategic ambiguity, has maintained a fragile peace for decades. It has deterred outright aggression while also discouraging Taiwan from declaring formal independence, keeping the region in a state of uneasy calm. Over the years, economic ties quietly flourished. Trade and investment grew even as political tensions simmered beneath the surface, creating a paradox of connection and division. Taiwanese investment in the mainland led to the creation of complex, interdependent supply chains, binding the two economies together in ways that neither side could have predicted decades earlier. Meanwhile, Taiwan's vibrant democracy fostered a distinct identity among its people, one that increasingly set it apart from the mainland and fueled a sense of national pride. This divergence, growing economic interdependence alongside rising nationalism and calls for self-determination, made the situation ever more volatile, with each side wary of the other's next move. The status quo was one of constant tension, marked by military posturing and diplomatic standoffs but never erupting into open conflict. Today's acceptance of the Taipei Initiative is nothing short of revolutionary. It breaks a 75-year deadlock, opening the door to new possibilities for peace and cooperation. It's a leap from a long history of mistrust and division to a future that, for the first time in generations, holds the promise of genuine collaboration and understanding. The world is now witnessing a true turning point, one that could reshape not only the fate of China and Taiwan, but the entire balance of power in the Asia-Pacific region and beyond. The Taipei Initiative is a comprehensive and forward-thinking framework, quietly crafted by the Lai administration over months of careful deliberation and strategic planning. Rather than being announced with fanfare, it was delivered through discreet diplomatic back-channels, reflecting the sensitivity and complexity of cross-strait relations. The initiative rests on three foundational pillars: deepening economic cooperation, establishing robust military de-escalation mechanisms, and initiating a phased, step-by-step political dialogue. Notably, the plan sidesteps the most contentious issue, sovereignty, choosing instead to focus on practical, incremental steps that can reduce tension and gradually build mutual trust between both sides. The economic pillar proposes the creation of a cross-strait economic cooperation zone, encouraging joint research and development projects, and establishing secure, resilient supply chains to benefit both economies. The military pillar is equally ambitious, calling for the establishment of a direct hotline between military leaders, advanced notification of military drills to avoid misunderstandings, and the creation of designated no-fly and no-sail zones in sensitive areas to prevent accidental clashes or escalation. Political dialogue is designed to begin with semi-official talks focused on practical, non-political issues such as trade, travel, and public health, with the process only escalating to more formal negotiations after a foundation of trust and cooperation has been firmly established. Crucially, the proposal deliberately avoids invoking the One China principle, instead insisting on mutual respect, parity, and equal footing for both parties at the negotiating table. This careful sequencing and pragmatic approach made the plan more palatable for Beijing, opening the door to further dialogue. Ultimately, the Taipei Initiative offers a realistic and pragmatic path forward, aiming to foster peace and stability without demanding immediate political concessions from either side. The economic pillar leverages the deep interdependence between China and Taiwan. Mainland China and Hong Kong account for nearly 38% of Taiwan's exports, a vital economic link. The proposed economic cooperation zone focuses on green tech and biotech, aligning with Beijing's priorities and offering mutual benefits. Joint efforts to secure global supply chains, especially semiconductors, address a major international concern. A cross-strait council would coordinate on supply chain resilience, reassuring global markets. For Beijing, this framework counters the narrative of decoupling and stabilizes foreign investment. It's a low political cost, high-reward entry point for both sides. The military pillar directly addresses the region's most dangerous flashpoint. PLA incursions into Taiwan's airspace have soared, raising the risk of accidental conflict. A direct military hotline and advance notification of drills are classic confidence-building measures. These steps reduce the risk of miscalculation and foster operational transparency. Political dialogue, the most ambitious pillar, starts with low-level talks on non-political issues to build trust. Success here could create momentum for tackling more sensitive topics. The proposal's language of mutual respect sidesteps the One China principle, creating an opening for dialogue. For Taiwan, this upholds de facto sovereignty. For Beijing, it signals new pragmatism. The initiative prioritizes risk reduction over rigid dogma. Why did China accept the Taipei Initiative now? The answer lies in economic and geopolitical pressures. China's economy faces headwinds, real estate crisis, high youth unemployment, and faltering exports. An active conflict would trigger devastating sanctions and economic collapse. Accepting the proposal allows Beijing to refocus on domestic challenges and avoid catastrophic risks. Internationally, China's assertive diplomacy has led to growing isolation and strengthened security alliances against it. A move toward peace with Taiwan reshapes China's global image and counters the China threat narrative. Military intimidation has backfired, strengthening Taiwanese identity and resistance to unification. Building trust and economic ties may now be seen as a more effective long-term strategy. The announcement has triggered global reactions, underscoring Taiwan's centrality in geopolitics. Financial markets surged, reflecting optimism over reduced war risk. Asian neighbors like Japan and South Korea welcomed the dialogue but reaffirmed their security postures. ASEAN nations see relief from the pressure to choose sides. European leaders praised the step, balancing support for dialogue with continued wariness of Beijing. Some defense hawks and countries benefiting from de-risking are concerned about shifting investment flows. The overall mood is one of cautious optimism, tempered by skepticism. The world recognizes the path ahead is complex and fraught with historical baggage. For the United States, this is both a diplomatic victory and a strategic challenge. The White House welcomed the development, reaffirming its one China policy and commitment to peace. But the new reality forces a recalibration of U.S. strategy in the Indo-Pacific. If the threat of invasion recedes, the rationale for many military and economic policies must be re-examined. U.S. arms sales to Taiwan, mandated by law, will come under scrutiny as de-escalation talks progress. Washington must balance its legal obligations with support for the fragile diplomatic process. U.S. alliances may shift as partners question the need for a large American military presence. The U.S. must now emphasize its role as a guarantor of stability and a supporter of peace. China's acceptance of Taiwan's proposal is the most significant geopolitical event of the century. The Taipei Initiative offers a pragmatic, phased approach to mutual interests, sidestepping sovereignty for now. Beijing's move is rooted in economic necessity and a reassessment of failed coercive strategies. The world's response is cautious optimism, but the path forward is uncertain. U.S. policy must adapt from deterrence to nurturing peace, balancing security commitments with support for dialogue. Decades of mistrust won't vanish overnight. Hardliners may still try to derail progress. The world watches, wondering, is this the dawn of lasting peace, or just a temporary pause in a long conflict?